Oh, fast. She slipped out the back door, keeping low as she made her way to the tree line. The sound of alien engines grew louder, punctuated by strange, guttural vocalizations. Samara froze as a group of bipedal creatures emerged from a shuttle less than 100 meters away. Their bodies were covered in thick, mottled hide, and they moved with an unsettling grace that belied their bulky forms. One of the aliens lifted its head, sniffing the air. It let out a sharp bark, and the others turned in Samara's direction. She didn't wait to see more. Adrenaline surging, she sprinted into the dense forest. Branches whipped at her face as Samira ran, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She could hear the aliens crashing through the underbrush behind her, their excited howls growing closer. Samira's mind raced. These weren't just invaders. They were hunters, and humanity was their prey. As she vaulted over a fallen log, Samira's foot caught on a root. She tumbled to the ground, crying out in pain as her ankle twisted. Gritting her teeth, she forced herself up and limped onward. The sound of rushing water reached her ears, and hope surged within her. If she could reach the river, maybe she could throw off their scent. Samira burst from the tree line, the wide, fast-flowing river before her. Without hesitation, she plunged into the icy current. The shock of cold water stole her breath, but she pushed forward, letting the swift water carry her downstream. As she was swept around a bend, Samira caught a glimpse of her pursuers emerging onto the riverbank. Their howls of frustration were quickly drowned out by the roar of the rapids. Samira fought to keep her head above water, knowing that to survive this hunt, she'd need every ounce of human resilience and ingenuity she possessed. Miles downstream, Samira dragged herself onto a rocky shore, shivering and exhausted. As she caught her breath, her mind turned to the millions of other humans now facing this nightmare. She knew the fight for survival had only just begun. In the days that followed, Samira moved cautiously through the wilderness, scavenging for food and supplies. She encountered other survivors, a grizzled forest ranger named Jack, a teenage computer prodigy called Zoe, and a retired military veteran, Colonel Chen. Together, they formed a small band of resistance, sharing what little information they had about the invaders. They call themselves the Krisha, Colonel Chen explained one evening as they huddled around a small concealed fire. From what we've gathered, they're not just conquerors, they're glorified sport hunters. Earth is their new game preserve, and we're the trophies. Zoe's fingers flew across the screen of a salvaged tablet. I've been intercepting some of their communications. They're not just hunting us for fun. There's some kind of larger galactic conflict going on. We're caught in the middle of it. Samira frowned, her scientific mind racing. If that's true, then maybe there's more to this invasion than we realize. We need to find out what's really going on. Their discussion was cut short by a distant, inhuman howl. Jack quickly doused the fire as everyone tensed, weapons at the ready. The hunt was far from over, but humanity was learning to fight back. As they melted into the shadows, Samira felt a fierce determination take hold. The Krisha had made a grave mistake in underestimating their prey. Humans had risen to the top of Earth's food chain for a reason, and now it was time to show these alien hunters why. Unlikely allies. 2 months into the occupation, Samira and her small group of survivors had become adept at evading the Krisha patrols. They moved under cover of darkness, using their knowledge of the local terrain to stay one step ahead of the hunters. But they knew they couldn't run forever. One night, as they scouted the outskirts of an abandoned town for supplies, Zoe picked up an unusual transmission on her cobbled-together communications device. "It's not Krisha," she whispered excitedly. "The language is completely different." Before they could investigate further, the sound of approaching engines sent them scrambling for cover. Samira's heart pounded as she crouched behind a rusted-out car, watching a sleek, unfamiliar craft descend from the sky. It was smaller than the Krisha vessels, with smooth lines that spoke of advanced technology. The ship's hatch opened with a soft hiss, and a tall, slender figure emerged. In the dim moonlight, Samira could make out iridescent scales covering its body and large, multifaceted eyes that scanned the area warily. This was clearly not a Krisha. Colonel Chen raised his rifle, but Samira placed a hand on his arm. "Wait," she whispered. "Let's see what it does." The alien moved cautiously, its movements fluid and precise. It approached a nearby building, activating a device on its wrist. A holographic display flickered to life, showing what appeared to be a map of the area. Samira made a split-second decision. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out from behind the car, hands raised. "We mean you no harm," she called out. The alien whirled around, a weapon materializing in its hand. For a tense moment, they stared at each other. Then, to Samira's amazement, the alien spoke in halting English. "Human, not enemy. I seek alliance." Over the next hours, as Samira's group cautiously emerged from hiding, they learned the truth from their unexpected visitor. The alien called itself Zixel, a member of a species known as the Arcturians. They were locked in a centuries-long conflict with the Krisha, fighting against their empire's expansion across the galaxy. "Earth, strategic importance," Zixel explained, its translator improving as it spoke. "Krisha hunt you to prove dominance, but also hide true purpose." Samira leaned forward, intrigued. What true purpose? Zixel's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with urgency. "Your planet, rare resources, ancient technology buried deep. Krisha seek, weapon to turn tide of war." The implications were staggering. Earth wasn't just a hunting ground, it was a battlefield and a cosmic conflict, and humanity had been caught in the crossfire. "Why should we trust you?" Colonel Chen demanded. "How do we know you're any better than the Krisha?" Zixel's response was simple but profound. "We ask, not demand. Offer partnership, not slavery. Humans have potential to shape galactic future." As the night wore on, Samira and her companions debated fiercely. The risks were enormous, but so were the possibilities. An alliance with the Arcturians could give humanity the knowledge and technology they needed to fight back against the Krisha. Finally, as dawn broke, they reached a decision. Samira stepped forward, extending her hand to Zixel in a very human gesture of agreement. "We'll work with you," she said firmly. "But understand this, we're fighting for Earth, not just your war. If there's a chance to save our people and our planet, we'll take it." Zixel inclined its head in what seemed to be a sign of respect. "Understood. Together, we have chance." As Zixel's ship cloaked itself from Krisha sensors, Samira and her team boarded with a mix of trepidation and hope. They were about to leave behind everything they knew, embarking on a dangerous mission to turn the tables on their hunters. Samira gazed out the viewport as Earth shrank beneath them. She thought of all those left behind, still fighting for survival. "We'll be back," she promised silently. "And when we return, the real battle begins." The ship accelerated, carrying them towards an uncertain future among the stars. But for the first time since the invasion, humanity had a fighting chance. The hunters were about to become the hunted. Tables turned. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity as Samira and her team worked alongside their Arcturian allies. They trained with advanced weaponry, studied Krisha tactics, and learned about the complex web of galactic politics that had brought war to Earth's doorstep. Zixel proved to be a patient teacher, marveling at the humans' adaptability and innovative thinking. "Your species, quick learners," it observed as Zob masterfully reprogrammed an Arcturian communications array. "Krisha underestimate their mistake." But even as they prepared, reports from Earth grew increasingly dire. The Krisha were stepping up their hunts, driving surviving humans into ever-shrinking safe zones. Time was running out. "We need to strike back," Samira insisted during a strategy session. "Not just hit-and-run attacks, but something big enough to shake their confidence." Colonel Chen nodded grimly. "Agreed. We need to show these bastards that humans aren't easy prey." Their opportunity came sooner than expected. Zixel's intelligence network intercepted Krisha communications about a major operation planned in what was once the Brazilian Amazon. The aliens had detected energy signatures that matched the ancient technology they sought. "They're going all in on this one," Jack said, studying the tactical displays. "It's a risk, but if we can disrupt their operation and secure whatever they're after." Samira felt a surge of determination. It's time to take the fight back to Earth. The plan they devised was audacious, relying on a combination of Arcturian technology and human ingenuity. As they approached Earth under cloak, Samira couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and dread. This was their chance to strike a real blow against the invaders, but the stakes couldn't be higher. Their ship touched down in a remote clearing, miles from the Krisha dig site. Samira led a small team to scout ahead, marveling at how alien her home planet now felt. The lush rainforest had been scared by the invasion, with swaths of trees leveled to make way for Krisha equipment. As they crept closer to the enemy camp, Samira activated the adaptive camouflage Zixel had provided. Her skin shimmed, taking on the patterns and textures of the surrounding foliage. It wasn't perfect, but it would help them avoid the Krisha's keen senses. The alien base sprawled before them, a hive of activity centered around a massive excavation. Krisha workers swarmed over strange machinery, their guttural language filling the air with a constant, unsettling chatter. Zoe's voice crackled over their secure comms. "I'm picking up massive energy spikes from whatever they're digging up. It's like nothing I've ever seen." "Copy that," Samira whispered. "We need to get closer. Everyone, stick to the plan." On my mark. What followed was a masterclass in guerrilla warfare. The humans used their knowledge of Earth's environment to devastating effect. They triggered landslides to bury Krisha equipment, used local plant toxins to incapacitate sentries, and employed cunning traps that played on the aliens' hunting instincts. The Krisha, accustomed to being the apex predators, found themselves constantly off balance. Their superior technology meant little in the face of human resourcefulness and a lifetime of evolution on Earth. As chaos engulfed the camp, Samira led a strike team to secure the excavation site. They fought their way through disoriented Krisha, their Arcturian weapons cutting through alien armor with surgical precision. At the heart of the dig, they found it, a pulsing obelisk of impossible geometry, radiating power. Samira felt a chill run down her spine as she approached it. This was what the Krisha had come for, a relic of some long-lost civilization that had once called Earth home. "We need to move it," she ordered. "Back to the ship now." As they struggled with the artifact, a bone-chilling roar cut through the sounds of battle. A massive Krisha, larger and more heavily armored than any they'd seen, charged towards them. The hunter had become the hunted, and it was out for blood. Colonel Chen stepped forward, determination etched on his face. "Get that thing out of here," he growled. "I'll hold it off." Samira wanted to argue, but there was no time. As she and the others retreated with their prize, she saw Chen empty clip after clip into the advancing monster. The colonel's last stand bought them the precious seconds they needed to escape. Their ship rocketed into the sky, Krisha fighters in hot pursuit, but Zixel's piloting skills and the vessel's advanced tech allowed them to slip away, breaking atmosphere and racing to a predetermined rendezvous point. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Samira stared at the alien artifact they'd captured. They'd struck a significant blow against the Krisha, but at a heavy cost. The true test was yet to come. "What now?" Jack asked, his voice heavy with exhaustion and grief for their fallen comrade. Samira's eyes hardened with resolve. "Now we take the fight to them. It's time for the resistance to rise." The resistance rises. News of the successful raid spread like wildfire through the scattered human resistance. The story grew with each telling. A handful of humans, armed with alien technology, had bloodied the nose of the mighty Krisha war machine. It was a spark of hope in the darkness of occupation, and that spark quickly blazed into a roaring fire of rebellion. Samira and her team became the nucleus of a global counteroffensive. They worked tirelessly, coordinating with Zixel and the Arcturians to arm and train resistance cells around the world. The alien artifact they'd captured proved to be a game-changer, its power source allowing them to reverse-engineer shielding technology that could protect human settlements from Krisha sensors. Months passed, and the tide of battle slowly began to turn. Humanity, with its back against the wall, fought with a ferocity that shocked even their Arcturian allies. Every victory, no matter how small, was celebrated and used to rally more to the cause. Zoe's expertise with communications proved invaluable. She managed to hijack the Krisha's own transmissions, broadcasting messages of defiance and hope to both human and alien audiences. The Hunter's propaganda machine began to falter as stories of human resilience spread. But the Krisha were far from defeated. As their easy conquests turned into a grueling war of attrition, they responded with increasing brutality. Entire cities were razed in retaliation for resistance activities. The aliens began to employ biological weapons designed to render large areas uninhabitable to humans. Samira watched with a heavy heart as the war took its toll on both sides. The once lush landscapes of Earth were being transformed into apocalyptic wastelands, but still, humanity fought on. In a hidden bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Samira convened a war council with resistance leaders from around the globe. The mood was grim as they assessed their situation. "We're making progress," Jack reported, his once cheerful face now weathered by months of fierce fighting. "But for every Krisha ship we down, they seem to have 2 more waiting in orbit." Zoe, her eyes ringed with dark circles from sleepless nights of code-breaking, nodded in agreement. "Their supply lines are stretched thin, but so are ours. We need a way to turn the tables decisively." As the discussion continued, Zixel entered the chamber, its iridescent scales dulled with fatigue. The Arcturian had become an indispensable ally, risking everything to aid the human resistance. "News from home front," Zixel announced, its translator struggling to convey the gravity in its multitonal voice. "Arcturian High Command. Considering withdrawal from conflict. Too costly, they say. Humans may be left to fate." A stunned silence fell over the room. The humans had known their alliance was fragile, but the thought of losing their only extraterrestrial support was devastating. Samira felt the weight of every eye in the room upon her. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what needed to be said. "Then we'll have to show them. And the Krisha, that humanity doesn't need anyone's protection," she declared, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. "It's time we take this fight beyond Earth." Her words were met with a mixture of disbelief and excitement. The idea of taking the battle to the stars seemed like a fantasy, but after everything they'd been through, the impossible had become simply improbable. Over the next weeks, a daring plan took shape. Using the ancient artifact and Arcturian technology, they would retrofit a captured Krisha warship. A strike team would infiltrate the aliens' main fleet in orbit, aiming to cripple their command and control systems. As preparations for the mission intensified, Samira found a quiet moment to stand beneath the open sky. The stars above, once a source of wonder, now held a mingled promise of hope and danger. She thought of all they had lost and all that still hung in the balance. A hand on her shoulder startled her from her reverie. It was Jack, his eyes reflecting the starlight above. "Penny for your thoughts, Doc," he asked softly. Samira managed a small smile. "Just thinking about how far we've come, and how far we still have to go." Jack nodded, his expression solemn. "You know, when this all started, I thought we were done for. But you never lost hope. You've given us all something to believe in." "We've all played our part," Samira replied, touched by his words. "And tomorrow, we make our biggest gamble yet." As they stood there, a brilliant streak of light cut across the sky. A falling star, or perhaps a piece of orbital debris burning up in the atmosphere. To Samira, it felt like an omen. Though whether good or ill, she couldn't say. "Whatever happens up there," Jack said, breaking the silence, "Earth's in good hands with folks like you leading the way." Samira squared her shoulders, a fierce determination settling over her. Tomorrow, they would take the fight to the enemy in a way the Krisha never expected. It was time to show the galaxy that humans were more than just prey. They were a force to be reckoned with. As the Resistance made its final preparations, a sense of anticipation built. Win or lose, the next battle would decide the fate of humanity. The hunters were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous prey is the one with nothing left to lose. Humanity's triumph. The captured Krisha warship hung in low Earth orbit, its systems humming with a mixture of alien technology and human ingenuity. Inside, Samira and her strike team made their final preparations. The plan was audacious, perhaps even suicidal, but it was their best chance to end the war. Zoe's fingers danced across the ship's controls, coaxing cooperation from the hybridized systems. "Cloaking field is holding," she reported. "As far as the Krisha are concerned, we're just another patrol ship." Samira nodded, trying to quell the butterflies in her stomach. "Take us in, nice and easy." As they approached the massive Krisha command ship, Samira couldn't help but marvel at its size. It was a city in space, bristling with weapons and swarming with smaller craft. Their own vessel, in comparison, felt like a minnow approaching a whale. Jack's voice crackled over the comms from his position in the engine room. "Reactor's stable, but we're pushing it to the limit. Whatever we're going to do, we better do it fast." "Understood," Samira replied. She turned to Zixel, who stood at a nearby console. "Are you sure about this? There's no shame in sitting this one out." The Arcturian's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with emotion. "Committed to cause. Humans have earned right to determine own fate. We'll see this through, to end." With a deep breath, Samira gave the order. "Initiate docking sequence." What followed was a masterclass in deception and infiltration. Using codes and protocols gleaned from months of intercepted communications, they bluffed their way past the command ship's outer defenses. Zoe's hacking skills and Zixel's knowledge of Krisha systems proved invaluable as they wormed their way deeper into the heart of the alien vessel. But their luck couldn't hold forever. As they approached the central control hub, alarms began to blare. The Krisha had finally realized the threat in their midst. "Looks like subtlety is out the window," Jack quipped over the comms. "Time for Plan B." Samira's jaw set in determination. "Affirmative. All teams, execute." The ship rocked as Jack detonated a series of charges they'd placed during their infiltration. Chaos erupted throughout the Krisha vessel as systems failed and compartments decompressed. In the confusion, Samira led her team on a mad dash for the control hub. They'd fought their way through corridors filled with disoriented Krisha, their Arcturian weapons cutting through alien armor. Samira's heart pounded in her ears, every sense hyper-aware of the danger surrounding them. Finally, they'd breached the massive doors of the control hub. Inside, they found themselves face to face with the Krisha High Command and the truth behind the invasion. At the center of the room stood a familiar sight, another obelisk, identical to the one they'd recovered on Earth. But this one pulsed with active power, surrounded by a web of alien technology. The Krisha commander, a towering figure with battle-scarred hide, roared a challenge. "You dare to interfere with destiny?" It snarled in broken English. "The legacy of the precursors is ours to claim." Samira's mind raced. The precursors, an ancient race that had seeded technology throughout the galaxy. Earth wasn't just a hunting ground, it was a key to unimaginable power. "That legacy isn't yours to take," Samira shot back, raising her weapon. "And humanity isn't your prey. We're the descendants of those precursors, and we're here to take back what's ours." What followed was a battle that would be remembered for generations. Human ingenuity and adaptability clashed with Krisha strength and advanced weaponry. The control hub became a war zone, with both sides fighting for the future of their species. In the midst of the chaos, Zoe worked feverishly to interface with the alien systems. If they could just seize control of the fleet's command protocols, they could end this war in one stroke. As Samira traded fire with Krisha soldiers, she saw Jack go down, a smoking hole in his chest. With a cry of rage and grief, she redoubled her efforts, every shot finding its mark. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, Zixel made a fateful decision. The Arcturian charged the central obelisk, using its own bioelectric field to create a feedback loop. The artifact's power surged out of control, bathing the room in blinding light. "Now, Zoe," Samira screamed over the deafening hum of energy. With a final keystroke, Zoe seized control of the Krisha systems. Throughout the fleet, ships began to power down, weapons falling silent. On the screens surrounding them, they could see the invasion force retreating, fleeing from the sudden loss of their technological advantage. As the light faded, Samira found herself face to face with the Krisha commander. But the fight had gone out of the alien's eyes, replaced by something like awe. "You are more than prey," it rumbled. "You are worthy adversaries, perhaps even worthy allies." Samira stood tall, her voice carrying the weight of all humanity as she replied, "We're not interested in being anyone's allies or enemies. Earth is our home, and we've proven we can defend it. Leave now, and never return." In the days that followed, the Krisha withdrawal was swift and total. Humanity had won its freedom, but at a terrible cost. As Samira stood on a hilltop, watching the alien ships disappear into the sky, she felt a complex mix of triumph and sorrow. Zixel approached, its normally fluid movements hindered by injuries sustained in the final battle. "What will humans do now?" it asked. "Galaxy awaits." Samira gazed at the horizon, where the first green shoots were already beginning to reclaim the war-torn landscape. "First, we rebuild," she said firmly. "We heal our world and our people. And then we'll look to the stars again, not as conquerors or prey, but as explorers." As the sun set on a free Earth, Samira allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: never again would humans be underestimated. The hunters had become the hunted, and in doing so, they had forged a new destiny among the stars.